My guest today, I call him the chief. Obi Emelonye, a former professional footballer, a law graduate from the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. He also has a BA in dramatic arts. You see the connection there? Now he has secured major international distribution for most of his films and set himself apart as a truly international commercial filmmaker. I think the best part of Obi Emelonye for me is the fact that he's a village man, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Toya DK.
I'm so happy you're here, and I'm even happier that your film Out of Breath is closing out the festival. Now, tell me, how do you feel right now?
They told me there's a medication they'll give me, and I will pass out for 3 hours, and then wake up 3 hours later. They were going to give me at 7 o'clock. When I wake up, they will tell me what went on.
Oh, no, listen, I think it's going to be amazing, especially because there's a huge anticipation for the film. I got your invitation card, and it was a heartfelt letter that you wrote to every single person who would be there. Talk to me about the creation of this film and why it is so personal to you.
Yes, you know, the Nigerian film terrain has been evolving, as it should. We went from telling stories in English to maybe dabbling into storytelling in our native languages. And,
yes.
And I would say that the Yoruba language has been more prominent in that regard, almost to the extent that people are asking, are there no other languages in Nigeria?
Yes.
And it's not the fault of the Yoruba filmmakers. They've put their money where their mouth is. And I felt it was time to match the kind of quality that they're trying to do, telling stories in vernacular, as they choose to call it. And when my good friend Ngozi Ide came up with this idea to tell a story that is really, really anchored in the past of Igbo culture, I felt, first of all, that we can't tell this in English. It has to be Igbo. And then we have to tell it at a high cinematic level to make it compete with what's out there in Nigerian languages right now. So I feel really proud and almost vindicated that the small project that we put together has been so well received critically, and hopefully when people get to see it for the first time, they will be happy that they did.
You know, I'll tell you why this makes me very happy. I remember growing up with my sisters, the types of movies that we loved. In fact, there was a point in my life I wanted to be an Igbo maiden when I grew up. That was what I wanted to be, because I'd watched. That's to show you the number of movies. I watched so many films where the maidens were always the most beautiful young ladies that the king wanted to find a wife for his son for. And then, you know, they all came. So there was always this excitement, and the soundtracks as well, the songs that they would sing. And I, agree with you to say, I wonder where we just kind of thought maybe that was no longer important in our storytelling. Now, the costume for this film, the location for this film, everything is built, even the storyline itself is built around the Igbo culture. So talk to me about the process of filmmaking, where you shot, the idea of the dressing, and the intentionality behind the mannerism to showcase the culture for the film.
Yes, so the film is based on a true life story of a man that lived in Ogwashi Ukwu in Niger Delta, the Igbo-speaking part of Niger Delta, and we set it in the same village where he was from. So that meant we were authentic with the location, with the language. We made a deliberate intention to not speak the Ogwashi language, because if we did, the tongue, if we did, it would not be as receptive. It would not be open to a lot of people.
Everyone has theirs. But we'll talk about that shortly.
So what we had to do was to find what they call the Central Igbo, if it exists.
How did you find that? Let me tell you, that's a tall order.
I did the translation. I did the screenplay, and I did the translation. So I'm from Imo State. I have a lot of friends from Anambra State. I studied in Enugu State. So you could say that I've had a mix of Igbo-ness. So when I write the Igbo, it is something that somebody might not say, this might not be my dialect, but I understand. So it is about communication now. So it's leaning a little bit towards Ihiala and Olu, kind of central language. But everybody who's Igbo, no matter what tribe they come from, or rather what segment they come from, would understand it. So it was important that we made sure that the Igbo was accessible. And once we did that, it was now about how do we celebrate the culture. This is not a very wonderful positive part of our culture. And we have to be adult enough to look ourselves in the mirror at what's great and what's not. And because in this story, it's about an era when elders were buried with their slaves. And one man, Obiaha, who was the real name of the man that did this, rose up against that tradition, putting his own life at risk and the life of his own servants for the same thing that he was trying to stop. But we had to tell this story in a more celebratory, digestible, palatable way, so that it's not horror, it's not anything that would scare anybody, but you get to see the strength of the language, the strength of our poetry and our idioms, which I deployed very gracefully in this piece. So if you like Igbo language, you would enjoy this because it's riddled with very wise cracks. We are great people.
We are.
And I think we should celebrate that more.
I'd always say this, being Igbo is being an Igbo woman is something that I carry on my shoulder, like I walk like this, it's something that I wear with joy. And I would always say that I think we need more stories like this. Just like you rightly said, I recently did a documentary in Abia State, Atan Abam, to be very specific. And I found that the Igbo from Atan is different from the central Igbo. I'm from Anambra State, and I know that in some parts of Anambra as well, there are dialects to the language. So I think of this, we have different Igbo states. We have Imo, we have Enugu, we have Abia, and when we all come together with our different dialects, how do we come together and how do we all communicate as one tribe? Because at the end of the day, we're all one culture. Apart from that, even our norms, our customs. I remember once upon a time, one of our customs was taking to court in Ukeje versus Ukeje, had to do with the inheritance, women's right to inheritance. So that was an actual case that I studied when I was studying law in school. So these are things that I always asked myself, why aren't we making films about these things to possibly help change the narrative?
I think we have been making films about them. I think what we did was this era of Nigerian film industry that started with Living in Bondage. And Living in Bondage was an Igbo film. It was a film in Igbo. And what followed it were films in Igbo. However, in the pretext to try and make the films more global, they felt that evolving the language into English would open it up to the world. But what we did not know that we were trying to take away some of the exoticness, some of the authenticity in our story by telling it in English. But now, it's a new renaissance. We've kind of come to terms with the importance of our culture and how powerful it is and how it needs to be celebrated. And that's, as the Igbo people would say, when you wake up, it's your morning.
It's your morning.
It's dawn.
And I'm happy to say that there are more people who are of this belief and of this mindset that brings us together than there are people who are still divided. And that makes me very, very happy. So today's a movie. I feel like everyone needs to see the trailer. So let's take a look at that trailer for Out of Breath, and we'll be back with this conversation.
Agaghị m anụ okorobịa ọzọ nwụọ. Ị nwere ike ịzọpụtasị ndị ọzọ. Iji na sọsọ gị ga-agbanwe nwa omenala anyị. Ị ga-azọpụta ndị ọzọ.
Out of Breath. Now, for everyone who's seen that trailer, and because with the rise, of course, we have a global reach, everyone's probably watching, wondering now where. That's the big question.
If you're in Lagos and you're privileged to have a ticket, you would be at
Afref. This is an exclusive screening tonight.
Yes, it's invite only. But you can come on, immerse yourself in the celebration. So we have Ogene, we have masquerades, we have palm wine, we have oba, we have okwa.
Really?
We're going all out.
Okay.
You know, so even if you don't see the film, you don't have the opportunity of seeing the film, come join the carnival
and just
atmosphere.
Enjoy
immerse yourself in Igbo
the
culture.
That's
food,
the word. Immerse
drink.
yourself in the Igbo culture.
And if you have the privilege of watching the film, you'll be in the cinema because the whole of the cinema, the 5 screens are going to be showing that one film.
Okay.
And that scares me.
Why does it scare you?
You know, you sit in your dark room being creative and doing this stuff, you know, believing in your craft and your ideas. The taste of the pudding is in the eating, and they're just about to eat my pudding.
Well, I guess we will see. We will see. Obioma Emelonye, thank you so much for your time, and of course, congratulations on putting out this beautiful film that tells our story. And I'm so happy to see it tonight. So I will be seeing you much later today.
Thank you, Keshi.